There are 5 questions that decide whether your marketing works, and not one of them is about the size of your budget. I've worked on marketing for small mom and pop businesses with virtually no marketing budget, and I've worked on global brands like Disney, where I helped launch a film that opened #1 at the box office. Those are 2 completely different worlds, vastly different budgets and levels of support, entirely different goals. But the same 5 questions decide whether either of them succeeds. In almost 30 years of doing this work, I've watched companies of every size get these questions both right and wrong. When they're wrong, it's sad because I see them pouring money into more and more advertising without seeing any meaningful results. So today, I'm sharing the only 5 marketing questions you need to answer. Answer them well, and you'll be well ahead of almost every competitor you have. Aloha, I'm Brent Shiratori, and this is Aidia Marketing. In this video, I'm going to walk you through each of the 5 questions. I'll show you why giving meaningful answers is harder than it looks, and I'll show you what a good answer sounds like, using real work I've done from local businesses all the way up to brands anyone would recognize. By the end, you'll be able to sit down with your own business and test whether your marketing is built on something solid or whether it's just spewing generic, robotic marketing speak. Here's why this matters so much. Most companies treat marketing like a faucet. Sales get slow, so they turn on more ads. Leads dry up, so they post more on social. They add a channel, add a tactic, add spend, and they never stop to ask whether what they're actually promoting is even clear in their own heads. Peter Drucker said the whole purpose of a business is to create a customer. Not to make a product or run a campaign, to create a customer. And you can't create a customer if you can't say why that customer should care that you exist at all. These 5 questions will show you how to get them to care. Now, they look simple, but they really aren't. I sat in rooms with executives running $100 million companies who could not answer the first one clearly. So if you find yourself struggling with these, don't worry about it too much. They're not easy. But the fact that they're hard is good, because that means your competitors have a hard time answering these as well. And I want you to do something while you watch this. Don't just listen to the questions, answer them. Pause if you need to. Grab a piece of paper or your computer or your phone and actually write your answer down for your own business before I give you mine. Because the value in this video is in the answers you produce, not in the examples that I give. Let's go through them. Question 1. What is the problem you solve? This sounds like the easiest question in the world, but it's invariably the one almost everyone has a hard time answering. When I ask a business owner what problem they solve, they usually describe what they make. We're an accounting firm, so we do taxes and bookkeeping. But describing what you make only tells me what you sell. It says nothing about the problem you solve, the thing happening in your customer's life that sent them looking for you in the first place. The small business owner doing their taxes isn't lying awake, worried about a tax form. They're worried they're going to miss something, get penalized, and put their business at risk. That fear is the problem, the thing that actually keeps them up at night. And notice that the moment you name the fear instead of the service, your whole message changes. You stop talking about deductions and start talking about protecting what they built. And that's worth paying for. Years ago, I worked on a campaign for Hawaii literacy. They needed volunteers to help adults who couldn't read. And the obvious problem looked like, well, they just needed more volunteers. But that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was that almost nobody believed they were qualified to help. People assumed you had to be a trained teacher. So we wrote a simple headline. If you can read this, you can help. That one line reframed the entire problem. It told anyone who could read the sentence that they were already qualified. The potential volunteer base went from a tiny sliver of the population to 80% of it. That's the power of this question. Go past what you sell and name the actual human problem underneath it, and be specific. We help businesses grow is not a problem you solve. It's a vague statement nobody can even argue with. And if no one can argue with it, it essentially means nothing. So don't focus on the product or service you sell. Tell people the specific problem you solve. Question 2. What would the world be like if your company didn't exist? I like to call this the It's a Wonderful Life question. You remember the movie. George Bailey thinks his life is in shambles and meaningless, that it would be better off had he never been born at all. So he's granted this wish and wakes up to a world where he never existed. And he finds out that it's actually this new world that's in shambles. He finds that all the little things he did in his life, because he was a good and honest man, made a significant and powerfully positive difference in people's lives. What's the difference that your company makes? Now, I know this is an uncomfortable one, because for a lot of businesses, they think that not much would change. If their company closed tomorrow, maybe their customers would just go straight to one of their competitors. And that's a really hard reality to accept. But I want you to really sit with this question, because I do believe you'll find that you do provide something unique and special to the world if you look hard enough, just like in It's a Wonderful Life. And I love this question from a brand strategy perspective because it's a far better way to come up with your value proposition than the traditional formula. It gets at the emotional, visceral reason on how you improve your customer's life, even if only in a small way. And ironically, small businesses usually find a better answer than large global brands because they see and talk to their customers on a regular basis. They can see in front of their eyes the difference they make to real people. What would the world be like if your company didn't exist? Maybe you're a neighborhood restaurant where families gather, couples have their first date, kids try your type of cuisine for the first time, and they grow to love it. And you're surrounded by fast food and chain restaurants that's admittedly cheaper and more convenient. So if you weren't there, maybe all those people in the neighborhood would have simply gone to all those boring, bland restaurants. Imagine all the little moments they had at your place. Enjoying your food, spending time with loved ones, chatting it up with your staff like they were family. Memories they'll cherish forever. That's the power of this question. So really go deep. What would be missing from your customers' lives if you were to disappear? If you can name it and it's real, you found the core of your brand. Question 3, who would miss you if you were gone? Notice this is different from the last one. Question 2 was about what would be lost. This one is about who, the specific people who would actually feel it. This question does something important. It forces you to admit that you're not for everyone. When I work with a business and ask who their customer is, the answer is almost always too big. Like anyone who needs accounting or any business that wants to grow. That instinct to be for everyone is the thing quietly killing your marketing. You simply can't build loyalty with a customer you refuse to define. When you try to talk to everyone, you end up sounding like no one. So get specific. Who exactly would be upset to learn you closed? Picture them. The founder of a 15-person company who finally found a marketing partner that tells her the truth? The restaurant owner who counts on you to make payroll make sense every month? When you can see that one person clearly, you can craft your marketing message specifically to them. You're no longer writing for a faceless market, and you start writing for someone you can actually picture. The brands that win are the ones where a specific group of people would feel a genuine loss. Think about the businesses you would personally miss. The restaurant that knows your drink order before you say it. The mechanic you actually trust to give you a straight quote. You'd feel it if they were gone. And it's likely not because of the physical product or the tangible service they deliver. It's because they earned a place in your life. And here's a practical payoff too. The moment you can name the specific person who would miss you, you also know how to talk to them. You know what they care about, what they're afraid of, what words they actually use. The accountant who pictures one stressed founder writes completely different copy than the accountant trying to address every business in the state at once. Specificity isn't a limitation on your marketing. It's the thing that finally lets your marketing sound like it was written for a human being. That's what this question is really asking. Have you earned a place in anyone's life? Question 4. How would they solve their problem without you? Most businesses never think about this one, and your customer is asking it whether you like it or not. Every customer has alternatives, and I don't only mean just your direct competitors. If you're a fractional CMO like me, my competition isn't just other consultants. It's hiring a full-time executive. It's the business owner trying to do it all themselves. It's doing nothing at all and hoping word of mouth keeps carrying the business. Doing nothing is almost always your biggest competitor, and most companies forget that. When you map out how a customer would solve their problem without you, 2 things happen. First, you finally understand what you're really being compared to. The accountant isn't only competing with the accountant down the street. They're competing with the cheap software the owner could buy instead. If you don't know what you're being measured against, you can't explain why you're the better choice. Second, you find your real advantage. Not the advantage you wish you had, the one that genuinely matters when someone is weighing you against the alternative in front of them. Here's where working at scale taught me something. On a global brand like Disney, the question of substitute is enormous because a family's entertainment dollar can go to 1,000 different places. A movie isn't competing only with other movies, it's competing with staying home, with a theme park, with a video game, with every other way a family could spend a Saturday afternoon together. The brands that win at that level win because they are crystal clear about why every alternative leaves you with less. They make the substitute feel like a downgrade. You have to do exactly the same thing at your scale. Lay out honestly how someone solves this problem without you. Then ask whether your reason for why they shouldn't is actually convincing or whether you've just been quietly assuming people will pick you. And one warning here. When you find your real advantage, resist the urge to claim the same thing everyone else in your category claims. Better service, we care more. Your competitors all say that too, which means it doesn't really matter in convincing people to choose you over them. Your advantage has to be something a customer could actually feel the absence of if they went with the alternative. If your advantage survives being compared head-to-head with your competitors, various alternatives, and doing nothing, you've got something real to build on. Question 5. How will they find you? I put this one last on purpose because this is the question most businesses start with, and that's exactly the wrong move. Everybody wants to jump straight here. Which platform should we be on? Should we run ads? Do we need to be on TikTok? How do we get found? And look, distribution matters enormously. The best answer in the world to the first 4 questions does nothing if nobody ever encounters it. But notice the order. Getting found is question 5, not question 1, because how you get found depends entirely on the answers to everything before it. The problem you solve tells you where your customer is already looking. The difference you make shows you what people care about. The people who would miss you tell you where those specific people spend their attention. The alternatives tell you what your message has to overcome the moment you reach them. When you skip the first 4 questions and leap straight to how do we get found, you end up doing what most companies do. You buy ads to push a message that was never clear to begin with. And the ads don't fix the message. They just spread a weak one faster and at a higher price. I've watched companies triple their advertising budget and get almost nothing back because the thing they were amplifying didn't mean anything to the consumer. More reach on a confusing message just means more people walk away confused. So when you finally arrive at this question, now you can ask, where does your specific customer already spend their time? How best can we communicate with them in that medium? You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be findable in the few places your actual customer is already paying attention. Pick those and go deeper, rather than spreading yourself thin across every channel that exists. If your customer asks their accountant and their peers for referrals before they ever open a browser, then your real distribution channel is the relationships those referrers have. And your job is to be the name they say. Where they find you should fall out of who they are, which you defined back in question 3. That's why the order matters. Each question hands you the answer to the next. Be findable where it counts, and stop worrying about the places that don't. So, those are the 5. What is the problem you solve? What would the world be like if your company didn't exist? Who would miss you if you were gone? How would they solve their problem without you? And how will they find you? Again, they sound like simple questions, but I hope you can see now they really aren't. They're actually deep, uncomfortable, and they're genuinely hard to answer well. They ask you to be honest about whether you matter to who and why. Most businesses avoid them precisely because they're hard, and then they spend years wondering why their marketing feels like shouting into the wind. But that difficulty is also the opportunity. If your competitors won't sit with these questions, and most of them won't, then answering them well is how you pull ahead. The work nobody wants to do is exactly where your advantage lives. And Here's the one thing I want you to take away from this video. The companies that succeed, from the smallest shop I've ever helped to the biggest brand I've ever worked on, are the ones whose answers to these 5 questions are clear, true, and aligned with how they actually run the business. Get the answers right, and the marketing almost writes itself. Get them wrong, and no budget on earth will save you. If you want help working through these questions for your own business, that's exactly what I do as a fractional CMO. They're hard to answer alone, so sometimes you just need someone to ask the question a different way again and again until the real answer finally comes out. If you got something out of this, watch one of my other videos next and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. Remember, you don't need to buy more ads when you have better ideas.